This is the Extra Point Podcast. During this podcast, we will dive deeper into our Sunday teaching and share practical next steps for your faith journey. Now, let's kick off the Extra Point.
Hello and welcome to the Extra Point Podcast. My name is Anna Blake and I'm the youth pastor here at Southridge Church. Joining us today is Dean Meadows. He's one of our communicators here at Southridge Church. When we had a teaching team, Dean was a part of the teaching team. And if you are joining us here on the Extra Point Podcast for the first time or the first time in a while, make sure you subscribe and share so that someone else might be able to hear exactly what they need to hear from today's episode. We are in a series called Bumper Sticker Theology. If you have been following along with this series, you already know it has been really amazing and interesting. If you haven't, you can find every single episode on whatever podcast platform you're looking for. Just find Southridge Church, or you can find the episodes recorded on YouTube. Just look up SRCWV on YouTube. So this week's Bumper Sticker Theology bumper sticker, I guess, was follow your heart. We hear this in our community and our culture. People say this, just follow your heart. Dean, whenever you received this bumper sticker as what you were going to teach on, what did that kind of look like for you? What were your thoughts on that?
Well, actually, I have been a person that's been guilty of telling people, trust your gut, follow your heart. And really, it sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
But then as Pastor Scott requested that I teach on that, as I started examining the Scriptures, I found that it's not a really good idea because, the Bible tells us that the heart is deceitful among all things. And, I shared yesterday about how when I follow my heart with my true love, and she married that lawyer and ran off on me, it all happens and broke my heart, but thank God for unanswered prayers, because God had a different plan, and I'm glad that He did, because life has been much better. I mean, she's had lots of issues, and I'm glad that I'm not part of those issues. So, good luck to her, good person, but not for me.
Yeah. You never know. Following your heart can be a real risk.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like following God's heart, following God's plan can feel risky, but there's so much hope and promise in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it can feel like a risk.
Right.
Following yourself can feel like, oh, I see what's happening, but it's
Right.
the real risk.
Right.
So what did the sermon prep process look for you? You said you got contacted in January,
Mm-hmm.
and so you had months to kind of
Right.
sit on this and think about it. What did that process look like for you?
It was, it came together really good. I mean, normally I'm the type of person who likes to pick my own topic that I feel like God is leading me, but this just, it fell into place. And I mean, actually I thought I had too much information, and I was worried that it was going to take too long.
Yeah.
And I know, especially in the first service, I felt like I rushed things. I still tried to get all my points across, but I felt like I was rushing things. And, what the audience didn't know is that I got up that morning. We just got back from vacation late Saturday, and I got up early Sunday morning, went to the mirror, couldn't see because my eyes were swelling shut. I don't know what's going on. I've got a doctor appointment when we leave here. And, then I got here, and, the mic guy, he was like having trouble with the mics and getting me to sound right. And he kept on telling me to talk. And normally I can talk to anything, but I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to talk about. So we are going along, and then next thing I know is I get up here on stage, and I kept on hitting the green button to turn my mic on, and the mic was not coming on, and the lights were getting ready to come up, and then I figured out I had it upside down, and I had my sermon notes double paged, and so I went from page 1 to put it to the bottom of the pile, and then I looked down, and I'm on page 3, and things did not go as smoothly as what I first intended, but it was all coming from my heart that God had laid on my heart, so it made it pretty easy. So,
well, I'll tell you, I was in first service. I was not able to be in second service, and I thought that it was one of the most focused and well-communicated teachings I've ever heard from you. And so all of those things, I am amazed that all of that
even
happened.
the blooper, Anna?
Well,
I'm a woman. Yes, I am a woman.
listen, friends, bloopers happen. Like bloopers happen. We get tongue tied, but really, I thought that because I know you personally, we've served in ministry together, and myself, I also do this. I'll get on almost like rabbit trails or tell because Dean is an excellent storyteller, and we get on these tangents and then go, wait, what was I talking about?
Yeah, really.
But I didn't feel any of that on Sunday. I didn't see. It was, hey, here's a story, and here's why it matters to follow God versus follow yourself.
Yeah.
Here's why this story matters, because when I followed my heart, here's where it led me. When I followed God's heart, here's what happened.
Yeah.
I just thought that everything was just really bringing it back to center, and it almost it challenged people to accept that same call, not necessarily the call to ministry, but the call to follow. I thought that was really cool. It
Yeah.
was well communicated, and I think that folks who heard it, and if you haven't yet, go back and listen. I think that it was a really great teaching.
Even though Jacob told me after the service that I did really good, but I made one mistake. He said I went to the men's bathroom after.
Yeah, that's just
just
bullying.
Jacob.
That's
Yeah.
bullying at its best.
Jacob runs our sound back there, and he got me good on that. But anyway,
Yeah,
it's
that's
all
all
good.
right.
It was a
Hey,
very sensitive subject anyway, so
Yeah.
he made it funny for me, so it was
Oh,
good.
good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I thought everything just was really great. And then having missed your notes in first service, did that cause second service to look a little different?
Second service went a lot smoother. I felt more comfortable. They told me in the first service I ended a little bit early. And, my dad was a pastor, and he always taught me that the mind can only endure what the hind end can. So I always was afraid the first service I was going to go too long, and I was trying to rush through things. But the second service, I just said, let her go. If they
Yeah.
missed their McDonald's lunch afterwards a little later, then let her go. So that's
Yeah.
what we did. And I didn't
Felt
know
better.
they had a lot of stuff that went on afterwards too, so
Yeah.
we were a little bit later getting out. So
That's all right.
I kept the youngins back here with you a little
That's
longer.
right.
So,
The
yeah.
teenagers got to have a really great discussion time, so that
Right,
worked out for
right.
us. No, I think that's awesome. You just never know what God has planned in those moments, and maybe something that was missed in first service. Maybe there was someone there
It's
who really needed it second service. You know what? You just never know. God, He knows a little bit more than we do when it comes to that
Right.
stuff. So
right.
you just trust the process there. So for anyone who listened and heard the teaching that you
Mhm.
gave us, what would you hope they would do next in their own faith journey? What do you hope they would take from it and step into as they grow in their relationship with Jesus?
To really look at, especially with the decisions you're making in your life, because they can affect you for the rest of your life, is to go through that process, to search it, to see if it's scriptural, to you know. I know that some people think that testing God is not a lack of faith,
Mm-hmm.
but in my life, I want to make sure.
Yes.
And sometimes I do put the test out there. Still yet to this day, I will put test out there, and I think that's okay. It just makes my faith stronger because He has never failed me yet.
That's right.
And it makes it stronger. And sometimes other people, sometimes sermons, sometimes complete strangers,
Mm-hmm.
like in my case, and that was a life-changing event. That complete stranger calling me out in that church, and
Wow, yeah.
I mean, I haven't been the same person since. So
It's pretty awesome. So, if we heard this teaching, what I would hope and what I'm hearing you hope is that we would be sensitive to God talking to our own heart versus being so sensitive to our own heart
Right.
and our own desires.
right,
Just kind of tuning in to what God has for us through His Word,
right,
through Him, talking to
Right.
Him, prayer, asking those questions, and through community with other believers and just
Right.
hearing them
right,
being used by the Lord in our life.
right.
Man, that's so good. I think that's really rich stuff. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we wrap up today?
I really want to see people accept Christ. That's my
Absolutely.
heart and my desire, and Satan will put every excuse in the world
Mm-hmm.
out there for you not to accept Christ. And I had a recent experience I think I want to share.
Sure.
I'm a sponsor for one of our youth
Mhm.
that's in Mountaineer Challenge Academy, and I had to go through some training and there, and whole different place. His mom told me he was hungry, so I brought all these bags of food and stuff. Then I found out that they can't have food outside of the orders. But one of the first things he said to me when I got there is that he wanted to accept Jesus Christ. And I was like, wow, this is good. But we were in the middle of training, so he sat through my training with me, so I didn't say nothing. And afterwards we're talking. And then I said, well, how about this getting saved thing? And he says, well, I have to wait till I get out of here, don't I? I said, no. He right there in front of everybody accepted Jesus Christ. I had to ask permission to hug him because they have a no-touch policy. But it was just so great. And that's what it's all about. Just, enter into a relationship with Jesus Christ and then trust him to guide you with his heart and not your own heart. That's the bottom line.
Man, that's so good. No matter where you're at.
No matter where you're at.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, Dean, from myself personally and also from the leadership here and many people that I know here, we're thankful for you. We're thankful for you following the calling God's put on your heart, on your life. Your story and your ministry to not just the people here, but in the past, current, outside of this place, no matter where you are, it's making a difference for what God is doing in his kingdom. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
That's a big deal. Friends, make sure that you hang on with us. Next week, we're coming back with a new episode of the Extra Point podcast. You don't want to miss it. Thanks again, Dean, for joining us today.
Thank you, Anna, for having me.
Yep. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for tuning in to The Extra Point. Be sure to subscribe to the Southridge Church Podcast and tune in every Wednesday for another episode of The Extra Point.